This is Eyewitness News on LA56 with live breaking news.
I've therefore authorized targeted airstrikes if necessary to help forces in Iraq as they fight to break the siege of Mount Sinjar and protect the civilians trapped there.
Breaking news. Tonight, President Obama is sending a powerful message to Islamic militants in Iraq, telling ISIS to back down or expect military action.
And it is the calm before the storm, not one, but two hurricanes on a direct path for the Hawaiian Islands, residents bracing for the worst. Good evening. I'm Colleen Sullivan.
Now, David Ono, welcome to Eyewitness News in LA56. We begin with breaking news. Big story here. President Obama gives the go-ahead for airstrikes in Iraq to protect Americans from Islamic militants. So far, the U.S. has only carried out humanitarian airdrops, but our military is ready for action. And Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson is in our newsroom with more on this latest threat. Alex.
David, of course, President Obama's opposition to the war in Iraq was one of the key reasons he won the Democratic presidential nomination in the first place back in 2008. He's the president who ended the war in Iraq. And now tonight, he's the same president that has authorized airstrikes in Iraq if needed. For the past few months, we've all watched the humanitarian crisis in Iraq worsen. A group known as ISIS has claimed territory from Syria into Iraq. They've captured several cities, including Iraq's second largest city of Mosul. President Obama says if ISIS tries to take over the city of Erbil, he will authorize airstrikes. America has an embassy in Erbil filled with U.S. personnel, and now the president is vowing to protect them.
To stop the advance on Erbil, I've directed our military to take targeted strikes against ISIL terrorist convoys should they move toward the city. We intend to stay vigilant and take action if these terrorist forces threaten our personnel or facilities anywhere in Iraq.
Today, U.S. cargo planes dropped pallets of humanitarian aid to a group of stranded Iraqi citizens known as the Yazidis. That group is about 40,000 ethnic Kurds who are trying to flee ISIS. They're currently stuck without food or water along the Iraq-Syria border. The president says that the U.S. now has a responsibility to help them.
But when the lives of American citizens are at risk, we will take action. That's my responsibility as Commander-in-Chief. And when many thousands of innocent civilians are faced with the danger of being wiped out, and we have the capacity to do something about it, we will take action. That is our responsibility as Americans. That's a hallmark of American leadership. That's who we are.
President Obama says we will not see anything like what we saw during the Iraq invasion of 2003. He's not authorizing combat boots on the ground and says that the airstrikes will be limited and targeted. Now, Kurdish and Iraqi officials both said that airstrikes had already begun in Iraq. But tonight, the Pentagon is denying those reports. Officials say that those strikes may have come from allies of the United States. But, of course, the big headline tonight, President Obama giving the go-ahead for airstrikes if necessary. Reporting live from the newsroom, Alex Michelson, ABC7, Eyewitness News.
All right, Alex, we're going to continue to monitor it. In the meantime, our other big story tonight, the first hurricane to hit Hawaii in more than 2 decades is just hours away from making landfall, and it could be a 1-2 punch. Isel is expected to hit sometime this evening, followed by Hurricane Julio, possibly on Sunday. Eyewitness News reporter Jory Rand is live at the Satellite Center with more on the preparations that are well underway. Jory?
David, airlines, hotels, and residents all taking precautions tonight as the two hurricanes bear down on Hawaii. Together, the two storms could hit Hawaii one after the other in just a 72-hour span. Ominous clouds move in over Hawaii as two hurricanes are barreling towards the Pacific paradise. But that's not stopping locals from hitting the waves.
The waves are good right now. The storm hasn't quite reached yet. It's just the tip of the storm.
Forecasters say Hurricane Isel will be the first hurricane to smash into the islands in more than 2 decades. Isel is beginning to weaken, but so far still packing quite a punch, expected to hit Hawaii as a Category 1 hurricane or strong tropical storm. The Big Island is on track to bear the brunt of the storm when Isel makes landfall later tonight.
It's going to impact all of the Hawaiian Islands in the form of heavy rain, flash flooding, and rough surf.
And right behind Isel, Hurricane Julio, now a Category 2 storm, which may strike a glancing blow to Hawaii's northern islands over the weekend. Hawaii has been directly hit by hurricanes only twice in recorded history. State officials say they're ready for the 1-2 weather punch, urging residents to be prepared but not to panic.
I want to encourage everyone to stay calm and listen to directions from your local authorities.
Hawaiians are preparing for the worst.
Yeah, of course I take it seriously. I mean, this is the livelihood of several people. And all these other tenants down here, too. This is how they make their living.
And many also stocking up on groceries, clearing store shelves of water and other necessities.
Got water, got food. All I really need to do now is put gas in the car and maybe a couple rolls of tape, and I'm okay.
Now, Hawaii hasn't dealt with the hurricane since Hurricane Iniki struck back in 1992, killing 6 people and causing nearly $2 billion in damages. In that storm, there was only 24 hours warning. In this storm, officials are hoping with several days warning, they won't see the same devastation they saw 22 years ago. We're live in the Satellite Center tonight. Jory Rand, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Jory, thank you. About a dozen flights from LAX to Hawaii have been delayed or canceled due to Hurricane Iselle. Hawaiian Airlines is moving its Maui-Los Angeles flight up nearly 5 hours to try and beat the storm. Inter-island flights between the islands have also been canceled. Travelers we talked to at LAX admit they're a little nervous going to Hawaii, but have no plans to cancel their vacations.
It's going to be fine. I don't think it's going to be as bad as they say it is.
I'm sure all the hotels are up to code and we'll be fine.
Hawaiian Airlines and some hotels have even waived change fees due to the hurricane. And let's check in with meteorologist Jonathan Novak, who is tracking the storms. Jonathan?
Colleen, folks, wow, we've got 2 strong storms barreling toward Hawaii right now. Hurricane Iselle, we'll start with that. I just checked the computers, have not even had time to put this into the graphic, but the numbers are just coming down right now. Hurricane Iselle weakening just a little bit. I have winds of 80, but they've been knocked down actually to 75. Barely holding on to hurricane strength status as it continues to the west-northwest. 15 miles an hour now, slowing just a little bit as it's getting very close to making landfall. We're going to get to Julio in just a second. That is actually strengthened. Winds of 115. Category 3, a major storm. A different perspective here shows the enhanced satellite imagery. We can really see where the really cold cloud tops are, and that indicates where the heavy rain is. These deep purples really getting close to the Big Island right there in Hawaii for Iselle. Let's zoom in on that. I'm going to show you the risks here as it gets very close to landfall. Over the next couple hours, it's going to be doing so. Strong winds, rain, I should say, 5 to 8 inches, even 12 inches of rain in isolated spots, and of course the large swell. We head east toward Julio, a wind factor right now we're seeing winds of 115 miles an hour, and this storm, thankfully, Julio, will head further to the north, which will mean over the next couple of days it'll enter cooler waters and weaken. As far as Iselle goes, overnight tonight through tomorrow, it's going to be bringing a lot of problems for Hawaii, going south of the rest of the islands. Julio on the way, it looks like on track for about Sunday, taking a track further north, which means if it continues on that track, let's hope, that will mean less trouble for the islands, although there are a couple of computer models that do take it a little further south. We'll keep an eye on that, of course, for you and keep you posted. And we'll also have another look at everything coming up in a few minutes and our local forecast, too.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. We're going to see you then. In the meantime, our own Giovanna Laura is among those in Hawaii right now, caught off guard by the rare hurricanes. Giovanna joined us earlier for a look at how she and other hotel guests are preparing for the storms.
The weather is still good here. It's gorgeous. However, just moments ago, we got a knock on the door. We received this letter from employees here and a glow stick. They're handing out this information to everyone here. We are told also to stock up on our own supplies, the guests here, if we're more comfortable that way. They've also asked us to fill our bathtubs in the bathroom with water in case we need access to water if the water is shut off. And we also are told that there are evacuation plans in place in case it does get a little crazy out here. We're told that people on the lower grounds will be moved to the higher grounds, and there is a storm shelter. Actually, it's a ballroom that will be used as a storm shelter, and everyone has been told that we'll be able to go there if need be.
Giovanna Laura awaiting the hurricanes in Hawaii. Now use the free ABC7 Mega Doppler weather app to track these storms and weather wherever you go. Just change location in the app. Download it from the iTunes App Store or Google Play and search Mega Doppler.
A woman who stowed away on a flight from San Jose to Los Angeles has been arrested again. 62-year-old Marilyn Jean Hartman was taken into custody this morning at Terminal 7 at LAX. She was arrested for violating her probation and is facing up to 6 months in jail. Just 20 hours earlier, a judge sentenced her to 2 months probation and ordered her to stay away from LAX. This is what she had to say yesterday after court.
It was clearly wrong on my part, and I certainly don't want to do it again because I certainly don't want to do any jail time.
How did she get back here? I was really flabbergasted. I really was.
Hartman was first arrested Monday night after she snuck onto a Southwest Airlines flight from San Jose to LAX. She was only caught after a flight attendant did a head count when the plane landed in Los Angeles. The search is on for the suspect who shot and killed 2 people in Hemet. It happened at a mobile home park at Florida and California Avenues this morning. Authorities had not released the names of the victims. Neighbors say they heard several gunshots this morning. One witness says he saw the suspect take off on a bicycle. Police wouldn't say whether a bicycle spotted near the scene is connected to the crime.
A California man has been charged for starting the massive rim fire last August. It burned hundreds of square miles in Yosemite National Park and Stanislaus National Forest. A grand jury returned a 4-count indictment against 32-year-old Keith Emerald. He allegedly told investigators in a handwritten statement that he burned trash from his backpack and some embers started the brush fire. Emerald is not under arrest and no court date has been set.
Up next, the bug bite that can turn you into a vegetarian. The startling details.
Plus, why something your chiropractor may be doing could put you at increased risk for a stroke. What you need to know.
And serious monkey business, a legal dispute over this selfie.
The box office is about to get a boost from Turtles. I'm George Pinocchio, and tonight's Hollywood Wrap. They've been entertaining audiences since the 80s. Now the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are back in action on the big screen. Next.
A warning today about a chiropractic technique that could raise the risk of stroke. The technique involves a thrust to the spinal column at the neck, which some chiropractors do to alleviate disc pain. But the American Heart Association says there's a possible link between that kind of manipulation and the risk of bleeding that can cause stroke. The link may be low overall, but experts say chiropractors should inform patients of the possible risk before doing it. And it's a bug bite that can turn you into a vegetarian. Experts say when you get bitten by the Lone Star tick, your body produces an immune response that can cause a reaction if you eat red meat. Well, not everyone who's bitten gets the meat allergy. If you do, it can take several weeks for your body to react. Allergy specialists say don't confuse the Lone Star tick bite with that from a deer tick. That one can carry Lyme disease.
A man is suing Wikipedia over a selfie taken by a monkey. This is a picture causing a legal dispute. Photographer David Slater says he owns the camera, so he has the copyright to the photo. Wikipedia put the picture on its website claiming the monkey took it. Monkeys can't claim copyright, therefore it's public domain. Wikipedia refuses to take the photo down. Slater says there's around $100,000 involved in the rights to this 2011 selfie seen around the world, and he plans to take this issue to court.
Okay. Well, boy, the weather is certainly making headlines tonight.
You know, not only one, I've been through a lot of hurricanes. I was in Miami in 2005 for every major hurricane. I was in Houston for Ike. It is a terrible experience when they roll through you. Nevertheless, two within 3 or 4 days of each other. Hawaii has a lot to, unfortunately, look forward to in terms of the weather and deal with, and not the least of which is the wind speeds, which thankfully have weakened a little bit with the Zelda. We'll talk more about that later. Let's talk locally what we've got going on, because, man, you got to feel grateful for the weather we got here in Southern California. Temperatures were below average again today, but it was a beautiful one. We got the marine layer back in place, sure, but that's the worst of it. 81 was our high in downtown, and there are some of those low clouds at LAX. A beautiful night, comfortable, 68 degrees, winds out of the west, which means we've got that onshore flow. It's continuing on. Temperatures elsewhere are very comfortable as well. 95 Palm Springs, I'll take it. 69 Ojai, 82 Santa Clarita and Palmdale. So enjoy a nice evening, a lot like last night. The weather pattern won't be changing too much, so let me tell you what it is and how it's affecting our weather. We have that low to the north, and as that continues to be the case, we see that right there, still creating rain up in Nevada and northward. That will continue to bring us that onshore flow. That low will move out, but we'll see another one build back in as we go in later in the week. If high pressure were to build in, we'd have warming weather, and we'd have potentially a monsoonal flow and rain chances. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen until late in the game in the 7-day forecast. And I'll get to that in just a second. Tomorrow, another one like today. Beautiful. 82 in Los Angeles. We'll tack on 1 degree there compared to today. And lower 90s in the IE. 74 in Huntington Beach. A beautiful day. Once the morning clouds get out of the way, again, we've got the marine layer with that onshore flow. We always have that. But after that clears out, it is 2 thumbs up from me. 83 on Saturday and Sunday and Monday. You get the pattern here, the picture, which is consistent, very persistent. We'll call it kind of a benign weather pattern in that sense. Here you go, the Wednesday, Thursday, we start the warm-up. That's high pressure finally building back in. That doesn't mean rain for LA. It doesn't mean rain for the valleys. In fact, we're keeping it dry, hot, and sunny throughout. But it does mean a slight chance of rain for the mountain areas. We were thinking we might get some of that monsoonal flow back in Monday, Tuesday. We're going to push that back to Wednesday, Thursday, and only keep a 10% chance. That's what I have in there for now. It looks like you guys in the mountains will have temperatures in the mid-70s throughout. Awesome stuff. All right, the high desert, your temperatures are sticking around the mid-90s for several days. The breezes will be kicking up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll calm it down for the work week next week. And then there's that chance of rain on Thursday. That is the monsoonal flow coming back in. A few showers could pop up over the mountains and head into the high desert. Your temperatures, by the way, are going to be warming up close to 100 by then. We'll have another look at the weather. And we've got the latest on the tropical weather out in the Pacific, too, coming up in a few minutes.
Jonathan, thank you. We'll check back with you in the meantime. In tonight's Hollywood Wrap, a well-known creature is about to battle the Guardians of the Galaxy at the box office.
And there's a Leonardo involved, but his last name isn't DiCaprio. Here's George Pinocchio to explain.
All right, I will, Pat. On free ticket sales alone, Variety reports Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is expected to open to about $40 million. That's a lot of turtle power.
Like shadows in the night, completely unseen.
Oh, that's a camera flash. By my calculations, it's a girl.
Megan Fox stars as intrepid TV reporter April O'Neil in the latest version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Will Arnett plays her trusted cameraman. Both actors don't have any illusions about who people are really wanting to see with this movie, the Turtles.
Rob, you're a talking turtle. And you're a human nerd. Now that we got that out of the way, hit it.
They're kind of a parody of superheroes. And So you need to have that lightness in it. They're mutant turtles who know ninja, and they're teenagers.
Working in a big visual effects-driven movie is nothing new to Fox. She starred in Transformers, but she had a lot more fun with this one. There were actual actors playing Raphael, Leonardo, Donatello, and Michelangelo.
I had four, not only like just actors, I had four really talented guys that were like perfectly cast as their characters. And they were really fun to be around, and they were really funny and really good at improvising and really athletic, and some of them were really handsome, and it was a really good experience.
We're ninjas. Mutants.
Well, technically we're turtles. Oh, and we're teenagers. But we can still have adult conversation.
Both Fox and Arnett are parents to young children. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is rated PG-13. So should younger ones see it?
I have no problem taking my 5-year-old to see this. My 3-year-old is a little skeptical.
I would go as young as 5 if your child can handle. There's not a lot of violence, but there are some scenes that allude to violence without showing it, and if you feel like your kid can handle that, then 5, because the rest of the movie is really funny and lighthearted, and there's just a couple of moments that you might want to cover the eyes, and that's it.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles went into some theaters tonight, but it officially opens tomorrow. David, Colleen?
All right, George, thank you. Up next, a wild video that has everyone talking.
A bear walking on its hind legs through a New Jersey neighborhood, and tonight you won't believe what we've learned about it. And this story.
An autopsy confirms what the Sheriff's Department had feared. A deputy shoots and kills an innocent man. I'm Miriam Hernandez. Ahead, a comment from the sheriff that is sure to generate debate. What he says you should do if you're ever caught in a similar situation, surrounded by a gun battle.
New details about what that bear we showed you last night walking on its hind legs.
It had most of us asking, is that real? Well, neighbors say they've seen him. ABC's Ron Claiborne went to see for himself.
See for yourself. That experts tell ABC News is not someone in a bear suit.
They say it really is a bear, standing on his hind legs and walking just as comfortably and smoothly as a person.
I think he walks better than you, Don.
He stuck his head up at first, and then he stood up fully, and then he started to walk.
There it is! There it is!
This sighting caught on camera July 19th. The bear ambling down a residential street in suburban Oak Ridge, New Jersey.
That is a bipedal bear.
2 weeks later, there he goes again, just 2 doors down.
He's looking at me.
In northern New Jersey, where black bears and humans coexist easily, a bear sighting is no big deal. But a bear strolling around like some mall shopper, very big deal.
It's scary at first, but after you've seen it a couple times, it just becomes weird.
McGowan says local residents have nicknamed this bear Vinny. It turns out state wildlife officials have been monitoring Vinny ever since he was first reported to them back in June. They say he's a juvenile, under 3 years old, and weighs about 250 pounds. And he is walking upright because his 2 front paws are injured.
More than likely it was a car accident. Bears can walk on their hind legs very well, and it's just they don't choose to do so.
Do you see him?
Officials say the bear and his bear brethren are not a danger to people, and they have no plans to capture or relocate him. Live and let live.
We are told that the bear, or Vinny, if you like, is recovering nicely. It will take another 6 months before he is fully recovered, but then he should be roaming around like any other black bear in this area, but on all 4s. Ron Claiborne, ABC News, Oak Ridge, New Jersey.
And that's certainly good news. I feel so bad. You could tell when he's walking, he has his paws up in an odd position.
And then when he went down, he favored it.
Right. He's definitely injured, but as Ron said, he's going to get better. Updating breaking news at 8:30. President Obama is sending a strong message to Islamic militants in Iraq. His threat to ISIS fighters when we come back.
Plus, the first of 2 hurricanes nearing the Hawaiian Islands, where the big storms are right now, how people are getting prepared.
And a mother kidnaps her own children and then returns home hours later without them. Now police can't find the kids or the woman responsible.
This is Eyewitness News on LA56 with live breaking news.
Yes, we have breaking news. Two stories dominating the headlines at 8:30. Welcome to Eyewitness News on LA56. I'm David Ono.
And I'm Colleen Sullivan. We begin in northern Iraq. President Obama has just announced he has authorized the U.S. military to launch targeted airstrikes against Islamic militants if they advance toward Americans on the ground. The U.S. already carried out airdrops of humanitarian aid today to Iraqi religious minorities trapped on a mountaintop by the extremists. The president is especially concerned about American diplomats, civilians, and military personnel in the city of Erbil.
To stop the advance on Erbil, I've directed our military to take targeted strikes against ISIL terrorist convoys should they move toward the city. We intend to stay vigilant and take action if these terrorist forces threaten our personnel or facilities anywhere in Iraq.
However, the president says American combat troops will not be sent back into Iraq. The announcements mark the deepest American engagement in Iraq since U.S. troops withdrew in late 2011.
And more breaking news. Two hurricanes on a collision course with Hawaii. The first ready to roar ashore with powerful winds and flooding. It's been more than 2 decades since a hurricane made a direct hit on Hawaii. Iselle is just hours away from making landfall. Residents and tourists are preparing for a possible 1-2 punch as Hurricane Julio is right behind. Hawaii's governor says his state is ready for back-to-back storms. State and local governments are closing offices as well as schools and transit services. Emergency shelters will also be open.
And for those people in those prone areas and vulnerable areas to take appropriate actions. The other thing is, like our boaters, to go and secure the vessels and moorings, again, in anticipation, and do all of that well in advance, so by tonight.
About a dozen flights from LAX to Hawaii have been delayed or canceled due to Hurricane Iselle. Hawaiian Airlines is moving its Maui-Los Angeles flight up nearly 5 hours to try to beat the storm. And meteorologist Jonathan Novak is tracking the tropical weather. Jonathan?
Yeah, Colleen, folks, the latest information coming down for both Iselle and Julio. Let's start with Iselle. Winds have been knocked down to 75 miles an hour. Iselle barely hanging on to Category 1 strength, but still a lot of rain ahead with this storm as it gets very close to making landfall in Hawaii, moving at west-northwest 15 miles an hour. Now, let's talk about Julio for 1 second here. Julio is a Category 3 now. It's actually strengthened, winds of 115, and it's what we call an annular or donut hurricane because it's very symmetrical, and what that means, it's going to be less susceptible to being knocked down by unfavorable conditions over the next several days. This could be a very strong storm. The good news, it looks like it's going to head north of the islands. So let's focus in here on Iselle. A little bit closer in again. Strong winds, rain 5 to 8 inches. Isolated spots could see 12 inches of rain. We have the swell. It's going to be a big mess for Hawaii, and then they look ahead to Julio. The timing of which, and this is the latest forecast cone over the next couple hours, that center of that storm is going to make landfall on the Big Island, head south of the rest of the islands as it weakens to a tropical storm, and then continue to move on past Hawaii. Now, Julio looks like it's going to hang on to hurricane strength. This is the latest forecast cone for Julio, heading north of the islands as we head in through the end of the weekend. There are some tracks for some of the forecast models that bring it south a little bit more. And you look at the quick look here at the wind contours. The orange here, the hurricane force winds, that's going straight through the Big Island tonight. And we're going to take a look actually here at our local weather as well as another look at the satellite imagery there on Hurricane Iselle and Julio coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. And a look from Koloa as the Hawaiian Islands brace for the arrival of the 2 hurricanes. You can see right there, not too bad of waves, but also we should note that Koloa is about 300 miles from where Hurricane Iselle is expected to first hit. And of course, the targeted track is the Big Island. Of course, if that changes, stay with Eyewitness News for the very latest development.
And we have even more breaking news from the Mideast. With less than an hour and a half remaining in the 3-day ceasefire, Israeli officials say the truce has been broken with 2 rockets fired from Gaza into southern Israel. So far, no word of an Israeli response. Thousands of Palestinians marched in a pro-Hamas rally in Gaza City today, waving green flags and mock guns. Earlier today, Hamas officials said the ceasefire would not be extended unless the Israeli blockade of Gaza was lifted. Lacking such an agreement, Hamas called on the Palestinian negotiating team to pull out of the talks now underway in Cairo. Back at home, the LA County Sheriff's Department has confirmed a deputy shot and killed an innocent man in Pico Rivera. The shooting happened as deputies got into a shootout with a wanted felon. Eyewitness News reporter Miriam Hernandez tells us the victim's family now wants answers.
The autopsy on Mr. Mendoza is now complete, and it is confirmed that our personnel fired the fatal round.
A fatal round, a fatal error. Frank Mendoza, in his own home, is shot once in the leg, once in the head by a 13-year veteran deputy. The sheriff says the scene unfolded so fast before SWAT officers who typically handle such situations arrived. A wanted felon, Cedric Ramirez, had been shooting at deputies when he broke into the back of Mendoza's house. 5 family members inside. 2 children and an adult escaped. Then, says the sheriff, just 7 seconds later, the deputy saw someone move inside the house where the shots were coming from.
He saw that movement, and he thought that was the same guy that had been shooting. It was a very quick and a very blurry situation.
Mendoza's 8 children and 12 grandchildren want more answers. Today, they tell us, quote, "This whole ordeal should have been handled better, differently. We miss our dad a great deal. We appreciate all the support from the family, friends, and the community," unquote. They point out stark differences between the 2 men. Ramirez, 24, tatted, shaved head, 155 pounds. Mendoza, 20 years older, 60 pounds bigger, not bald. Then there's this photo of Ramirez. Just days earlier, the sheriff sent it out. Deputies put on notice that he was armed and dangerous on the run in Pico Rivera.
There was a wanted poster. We don't know that all of the deputies had access to that at the time.
Another question. A neighbor says Mendoza had moments before shouted out to hold their fire.
There are kids in the house. Stop shooting. There's kids in the house, you know. I think he used the F word.
The sheriff says deputies heard nothing but gunfire from inside the house and did not know Mendoza's wife was also inside until later. Ramirez held her hostage for 8 hours before SWAT burst in and killed him. What could have saved Mendoza or others in a similar situation?
I think having their arms over their head and yelling, out very clearly that they're a resident would have been helpful.
We likely will be hearing a response from the family about that. Today, though, they're preparing for services, which will take place tomorrow and Saturday for Mr. Mendoza. Reporting from Monterey Park, Miriam Hernandez, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
An Amber Alert has been issued for 2 young children abducted from their home in Exposition Park. Police say they were taken illegally by their own mother, but now detectives say she may not have them. Eyewitness News reporter Alex Michelson has the latest on the search.
9-year-old Adonia and 8-year-old Emmanuel Freeman live at this Exposition Park home where they're being raised by their grandmother. Police say their biological mother, Amina Rashina Friedman, showed up to the home and abducted them Monday afternoon. At the time, police say she was off her medication. She's since come back to the home several times.
Yesterday, she returned again, and she didn't have the children with her, the 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. This morning at 5 a.m., she returned to the grandmother's house again, and she asked the grandmother, where are the children? So now it's really important that we locate the children because she does not know where the children are.
Emmanuel is described as 4'8", 95 pounds. He was last seen wearing a Mario Brothers t-shirt. Adonia is 4'10", 97 pounds. She was last seen wearing a pink dress. Their mother is described as 5'6", 160 pounds. She was last seen driving a maroon 2011 Ford Edge with paper plates reading Airport Marina.
It is a serious situation when we don't know whereabouts of the children and they're 8 and 9 years old. I just hope they're okay.
Neighbor Marival Gare says she's seen Amina have several emotional breakdowns recently.
But this would happen daily for like about a week. She would just be parked outside crying and talking to herself.
If you have any information that can help find the kids, their mother, or that car, you're urged to contact the LAPD Southwest Division detectives or dial 1-877-222-TIPS. Reporting from Exposition Park, Alex Michelson, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
The 101 freeway near Thousand Oaks is back open again after a passenger van slammed into a semi-truck and flipped. CHP says a tire blew on the passenger van, causing the driver to lose control and collide with the truck. So far, we know at least 16 people were hurt in the wreck. 11 have been taken to nearby hospitals. However, the extent of their injuries is unknown.
New at 8, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is in Afghanistan. He arrived in Kabul to speed up a resolution to the country's election dispute. Kerry planned to meet with both presidential candidates and current President Hamid Karzai. He was following up on an agreement he brokered between the 2 candidates to get get them to accept the outcome of an audit of the election. One of the candidates alleged massive election fraud. The inauguration of the president is being postponed while the votes are counted.
Sergeant Bo Bergdahl underwent a second day of questioning today. This is a picture Bergdahl's attorney released of him yesterday. The Army wants to find out why Bergdahl left his post in Afghanistan and what happened to him during his 5 years in Taliban captivity. Bergdahl is still active duty, working an administrative job at Fort Sam Houston. His attorney says he's very eager to move on to the next stage of his life.
Up next, have you ever written a negative comment about a business online?
We'll meet a man who did just that, and you won't believe how that business tried to fight back. Heads up for anyone who has ever posted a bad comment about a business online. When they see it, can they really fine you for an unkind review? ABC's Rebecca Jarvis tells us about this huge backlash against the business owner who threatened to do just that.
When Robbie Zonnet checked into his hotel in upstate New York for a wedding last year, he didn't expect this.
Smelled bad. We kept the windows open for the entire time we were there.
So he wrote a review on Yelp and gave it just 1 star.
I wouldn't recommend this property for anyone.
Then a surprise landed in his inbox. The hotel emailing Robbie that his negative review would cost the just married couple $500. Fine print the bride and groom had apparently missed when they signed their contract. And that language in contracts is becoming more common.
It's an intimidation tactic that, once discovered clearly, gets shut down right away. It backfires. Yeah, absolutely.
The hotel's rating on Yelp plummeting as a barrage of users posted angry comments. One person calling it the worst hotel in history.
On some levels, you are what your Yelp reviews say you are. 100%.
In some cases, businesses have even taken the extreme step of suing reviewers. Yelp says the law is on the side of the consumer.
They have a right to express their opinion and accurately and truthfully describe their experiences.
Back at the hotel in New York, we were told the owner wasn't available to speak, but in a statement he expressed embarrassment and regret, now claiming the policy was a joke.
If that was a joke, the reviewers aren't laughing. Rebecca Jarvis, ABC News, New York.
A 5-year-old in Riverside is proving you don't need to be big to do great things. Ryan Archuleta has never had a haircut. That is until today. At 3 years old, Archuleta saw a St. Jude's commercial about kids with cancer losing hair. He was so moved, he dedicated the past 2 years to growing out his hair. Today, with tears in his eyes, he chopped off over 20 inches to donate to children battling cancer. His mom tells us Ryan wanted Justin Timberlake to cut his hair, but the pop star is on tour right now and was unavailable.
But look how handsome he looks now.
Oh, he looks
that short hair.
Good job.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Ryan.
Well, ahead in sports, soccer great Landon Donovan explains why he's calling it quits at the end of the season.
And attention shoppers, Southern California's newest upscale outlets officially open to the public. We get a first look at the outlets into homes. So much for our record drought. Look at this. One Northern California peach farmer is begging for the rain to stop. The recent wet weather upstate has Carm Baines racing to save his crop from brown rot. He says rain increases the threat of spreading the fungal disease. Right now, his crews are packing 300,000 pounds of fruit a day. They hope to harvest the wet peaches before they fall off the trees and rot.
Well, small price to play for some rain. We definitely
need
the rain. Absolutely.
We would love it. In fact, the tropical low pressure that's up to the north of us, that's kept us a little bit cool this week, right? And it's been pretty pleasant overall.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to get to that because I think you don't like the forecast locally. We've got to talk about what's happening out in the Pacific. It is serious right now for Hawaii. One more look here at the latest on Hurricane Iselle and Julio. Guys, Category 1 for Iselle, right? So the numbers for the wind speeds have been knocked down to 75, barely a Category 1, but it is getting very close to making landfall. Now, here's the other thing. Julio, Category 3, a major hurricane, winds of 115 miles an hour. Here's the thing with Julio. It's become what we call an annular hurricane, or i.e. a donut hurricane. It's very symmetrical, and we don't see a lot of outer rain bands with a storm like this, which means It's very much put together on each quadrant of the storm. It's holding together, it will hold together, and it's going to make it more resistant as it gets into cooler waters. That might mean that as it gets toward Hawaii going into the end of the weekend, we could see some issues in terms of winds, depending on the track. But right now, it looks like it'll be far north enough. You see this right here, the yellow tropical storm force winds. The orange in the middle are Ezel's hurricane force winds, which go right over the Big Island, but the hurricane force winds will stay south, thankfully, of the rest of the area. Now we go through into the end of the weekend, and then we start looking at Julio. Right now, staying north, but those hurricane force winds, if it takes a far south enough track, could be an issue. Let's cross our fingers and hope things stay the way they look, and they only have to deal with one real bad storm with Ezel, and Julio might give them a break. Downtown looking good right now, 69 degrees. Beautiful. Oh, man, it's comfortable tonight. 73 Santa Clarita. Temperatures were below average today, and they're going to stay below average tomorrow. And this evening is a coolish to mild evening. 69 in L.A., 68 Santa Monica. We've got that area low pressure. I just mentioned it, guys. It's up to the north. All right, that gives us that onshore flow. Normally, we might see that move away and high pressure build in, and that high pressure will keep us warm. It'll, in fact, bring in that monsoonal moisture. That's not happening this week. We're going to have another tropical low pressure build in, and it's going to do the same thing, bringing that wind off the ocean. And that's going to mean the marine layers in place. Temperatures are below average. No rain in the forecast, at least for the next 5 or 6 days. Tonight, clear and cool. Late night clouds at the beach, which it's going to be 63 at the beach. Pretty much what you saw today, okay? You'll see tomorrow. Highs tomorrow, 95 Lancaster and Palmdale. About average, maybe a little below. 82 is a little below average in LA. 88 in Encino. 91 Ontario, Riverside is 92. So, yeah, temperature's definitely bearable. It's a beautiful 7-day forecast. Man, you got to love it here. We look at a little bit of morning cloud cover, but that is the worst of it. Lower 80s throughout. Now, Wednesday, Thursday, we start warming it up a little because high pressure does, in fact, finally make its way back into Southern California. Valleys, IE, good stuff for you. Friday through Tuesday, you're pretty much around 89, 90 degrees. And then you start warming up after that with high pressure building in, but no rain for you. The rain is in the mountains, but that won't be until next Wednesday and Tuesday, and we're only having a little bit of a chance in there, a slight chance that I put in, 10%, 75 both days. So that's when things start changing up for the mountain areas. Otherwise, nice and mild and sunny, and the high desert temperatures, I would say at average for the high desert, and fantastic. Mid-90s, you can't beat that. No triple digits for you. Not even a chance of rain until maybe next Thursday. Good stuff. We'll keep you posted. Actually, Dallas has the latest on all the tropical weather coming up on ABC7 at 11. Oh, we've got a story. Oh, that's right. Thanks, guys. All right. It's all the tropical weather on the brain, guys. We get into weather mode. Got a story for you, folks. We're going to change gears. Are you ready to stop and shop? Brand new mall outlet. I checked out today. Its doors are opening north of the Grapevine on the way to Bakersfield. It's bringing thousands of new jobs to the state. Check it out. That triangle may be one of the few things you can't find for sale at the new outlet at Tejon.
Can't think of anything better.
Sheila Donahue recently won $600 playing bingo. Great news for her family.
Big day. Lots of money to spend on kids.
Even better news for Southern California's economy. 71 stores covering 320,000 square feet means about 3,000 new jobs.
A much-needed job for a community that has high unemployment. It provides opportunities for young people to be able to have maybe that first job or a step-up job. It means revenue for the county of Kern.
Glad to have you guys. Bring them in. Woo!
The center has some big bragging rights, boasting the only Pottery Barn outlet in the state and something my realtor would appreciate, location, location, location.
Head north on Interstate 5, drop over the Grapevine, and you can't miss us.
About 65 million drivers cruise up I-5 each year. Zoller hopes at least 10% of them will get that shopping itch or just want an upscale bathroom break.
No long, dark hallways to the restrooms. They're open and bright with skylights and features and touches that are more seen in Bellagio in Las Vegas.
Well, no gambling, but for Sheila, it is the shopping jackpot.
Some pants, some shoes, maybe a T-shirt. I think that we need it. Everybody needs it.
Pants, shoes.
What a great place, though. Right there.
Amazing. And if you need pants, shirt, T-shirt, shoes,
food,
they've got it. And they've got food, they got everything. Fantastic place to stop by.
Thanks,
Great.
Jonathan.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jonathan. The top 5 conferences in major college sports will begin making some of their own rules rather than being policed by the NCAA. The NCAA Division I Board of Directors made that decision at a meeting today in Indianapolis. And the USC football team program was penalized by the NCAA 4 years ago. USC and UCLA are both members of the Pac-12, so their athletic programs could be impacted by today's decision. The so-called power conferences will be allowed to determine rules on recruiting, financial compensation for players, staff sizes, and relaxed rules on contact between agents and players.
I think some of the rules were difficult to live by, and I think even the NCAA admits some of the rules were Byzantine, archaic. But remember, we kind of did this to ourselves. The schools kind of do these to ourselves. So it's a recognition that it's time to kind of tear up some of those the poor decisions we made in the past and move forward, which, again, I think we are. I think USC, we're delighted. I think this is a good day for collegiate athletics. It's a good day for USC student athletes.
Other news now, Landon Donovan, the all-time leading scorer in both the U.S. and MLS soccer history, is retiring at the end of the season. At a news conference today in Carson, the 32-year-old LA Galaxy veteran says he's quitting not because he was left off the World Cup team, but because he's losing his passion for playing the game.
The most important thing is that I'm happy as a person, and this is the right time for me, and I'm happy now because of the decision. I'm going to be happy for the next few months, and I'm going to be a better player for this decision, and then going forward I'm going to be happy, and that made this decision pretty easy.
And Donovan hopes to end his career with a 4th MLS Cup title with the Galaxy and 6th overall.
More news straight ahead here at 8 o'clock and ahead tonight on Eyewitness News at 11 on KABC. A city bus crashes into an SUV, then into a house. So what led to this terrifying accident? And the former star of Harry Potter is all grown up and starring in a new romantic comedy. Hear what Daniel Radcliffe has to say about What If. These stories and all the late-breaking news on Southern California's #1 late newscast, Eyewitness News at 11 on KABC.
The city is turning a vacant fire station in Woodland Hills into a new place for kids to play. City leaders broke ground today on a park project on Canoga Avenue, where the old Fire Station 84 has stood empty for the last 7 years. Neighbors were complaining the property had become an eyesore. The new park will include fire department-themed play equipment. It still needs a name, and Councilman Blumenfield's office is taking suggestions through August 15th. So come up with a name.
That will be great.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. Well, thank you so much for joining us for Eyewitness News at 8 here on LA56. Law and Order SVU is next on LA56.
We'll see you tonight at 11 o'clock on ABC7.